immigration laws with illegal immigrants, those who don't have papers. We have found those who have got the right papers, and we have left them. But those who do not have papers, van. You don't have papers, van. Your passport has got old stamps, van. So there is absolutely no mercy.
Staying with this story, the Johannesburg Transport MMC, Kunene, has defended his presence during the arrest of a suspect. The Deputy Patriotic Alliance leader says he was accompanying a journalist working on a story for his online publication.
Now I'm very happy. I dance even at night. Things are looking good, Chef. We told you these things are criminals. They are nothing else but mapantit. He says he doesn't know that guy. He knows that guy. Floor. Go down. On your floor. Can you imagine kunene with that stomach? Floor. On the floor. They don't play. Hey, I'm MMC. High floor. We'll see that thing of MMC later. Bloody thug.
Hey, magenye. Welcome back, magenye, to another installment of The Rumblings of a Madman with your boy Blaze. So yeah, the voices that you heard in the beginning there, magenye, it's a few voices. So the first voice, obviously, kunene and Mr. Sushi, and then it goes into Kolane. I think his surname is Kumbi. But anyway, it goes into that guy from Newsroom Africa. And then you start hearing Julius Malema commenting on what had happened to Kunene. And basically calling Kunene a thug. Yeah, so basically, guys, that's what we want to talk about in this episode. A lot of things have happened around Kunene in the last time I posted something. And I think it's quite relevant because I did mention Kunene in passing and some of the work that he was doing in the Johannesburg city. And yeah, it's quite unfortunate what is happening around him now. So yeah, so just basically a brief history on what happened. Kunene was found at a place where the police were going to arrest someone who's implicated in the few murders. Kunene ought not to have been there, or him being there cast a lot of doubt about his character, considering his own history, right? So Kunene is a convicted criminal. He was known for scamming people. He went to prison for scamming. And after he had served time in prison, he came out. He was known for the kind of things that don't repair men's reputation. So as I still call him, I know him as Mr. Sushi, growing up in my years as a teenager, we know him as the guy who ate sushi off of women. That's how we know him, particularly for when I go to Angokachi. So now I come from the Free State, and in the Free State, Kunene was known there. In fact, Kunene dated one of the girls who did not live too many streets away where we stayed, right? So I don't remember the girl's name. It was the slender girl, but I do know the younger brother to the girl. That's the guy who was my peer. And Kunene used to date that woman. I remember Kunene at the time was driving like an 8.3, like a very powerful 8.3. I think it was probably an even RS3, right? This is like a long time ago. It's like, let's see, maybe 2006, 7, around then. I don't remember exactly the car he drove, but it was an Audi. It was an Audi because I remember his friend. By 2009, the friend Gayton Mackenzie was driving an R8, a place called Pakisa, where people in December used to come in and enjoy themselves. So that's basically a brief history of Kunene and why this story is relevant. And you hear Julius Malema talking about he's pretending to not know this guy who was found there, who was being arrested, and he came up with some weird story. I'll get into the details later on. I'll start off with talking about this gentleman who was arrested, KT Molefe, and it's a good spearhead into the rest of the issues that have been happening around Lieutenant General Mukonanzi. That I think I want to use this KT Molefe guy as the spearhead for that much larger conversation. However, we're not a news room, right? We're not a publishing house. I'm just a dude who wants to talk into a mic. So I'd say, look, to verify some of the things that I say, I am not following that story as much as I should, and I'm getting confused by all the characters that are involved. But I'll try to give a brief history, because then I will get into the kind of things that I want to talk about concerning kunene. Even though I'm using this whole issue, Lieutenant General Mukonanzi and KT Molefe and everything as the spearhead. Now, this is the story. If you remember a few weeks ago at the beginning of July, General Mukonanzi had said in a statement to the nation that there was political interference regarding a political killings task team, and it was disbanded, with the orders coming from a high office, the office of the Minister of Police. And it's disbanded because the Minister of Police is linked to some shady characters who are implicated in some of political killings. By political killings, from what I can gather now, it's not just merely killings regarding killings of politicians, but it's killings that are related to things that have to do with the state, right? So people are being killed because maybe you got a tender, or I don't want you to get a tender. The tender is being issued by the state. So if I am interested in the tender, but someone else who might have a better expertise and might get that gig, then I might find a way to eliminate them. And by eliminating them permanently, they could lose that bid, and that bid comes to me. Sorry. So that's basically what I can gather so far. I've not had anything regarding any politician being killed, even though there's probably there, but at least what's more making the rounds in the media, it's these business people, these shady businessmen who are doing the killings. So Lieutenant General Mukonanzi made those statements, and then the whole thing of KT Molefe starts off last year. So last year, an engineer by, I think, a guy called Amant, I don't remember his name, but his name is Swart. Ne? Swart was killed in a hail of bullets last year. I believe it's around Buma, August, somewhere there. And then by the time December comes through, they had identified the people who had killed him. Turns out that there were like 3 guys involved who were hitmen. These hitmen, I think, as my colleague and / friend Kems had alluded, in the cells there to confess to the truth of who's the mastermind behind the killing of this engineer. And then they confessed, and one of the names that they gave out, which is relevant to what I'm talking about, is this KT Molefe guy. Yes, there's other folks I suspect in all of these political killings. I've heard the name Brown, right? But I don't know too much about that angle of the story, but I just want to talk about this KT Molefe one. So KT Molefe was then arrested, and in his arrest, there was interference coming from as far as Sibiya, General Sibiya, blah, 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 blah. And it's just something that Lieutenant General Mukonanzi had mentioned, that there was some sort of interference when they were trying to have this KT guy arrested. Now, fast forward some time, KT Molefe appears court, and then he gets bail. So he's out on bail for the murder of this engineer, right? This Swart guy. At the time, it doesn't seem like it's clear what is Swart doing in a killing that involves a mastermind, particularly a shady business character like this one. However, the suspicion is that this guy was killed as a case of mistaken identity. That's one of the things that I've heard floating around. Anyway, the police continued their investigation. I think they did some sort of ballistic testing. Turns out that the bullets or the ballistics coming from that gun, right, that AK-47 rifle that had done the killing in this guy's murder, Swart guy, turns out it did killings in other things. there's these other DJs that I don't know I don't know them. I don't know much about them, but there's two that I know, and whose murders were a bit more, I think, more famous, right? At least to the common psyche of South Africans. There's a guy called DJ Vinto, right? So the gun that did the killing in this engineer was found to have also done the killing of this DJ Vinto, and then it was found to have done the killing of DJ Somebody. Now, DJ Somebody was the more famous one of these people who have been killed by the same gun. I think about 5 people were found, but these 2 are the ones that I know per se. DJ Somebody was one of them. Now, as the police are about to rearrest this KT dude in connection to the death of DJ Somebody, they go to his house. They come there, and because this guy is already an alleged killer or a mastermind behind another killing, or can you imagine, police come there fully armed, get to the house, this guy asked that the gate be opened. This is that the police asked the gate to be opened, and then the owner of the house, which is KT, opens the house, and then, guess who they find there? This alleged criminal, who is already on bail for the killing of some engineer, whose artisans or people on the ground or hitmen have been implicated in using the same guns to kill at least 2 famous DJs. Guess who is there? Kunene. Kunene is at the house of this guy who is alleged to have killed some of South Africa's most famous DJs and producers. Kunene, the story goes out very quickly. Kunene was found by Mahata. Even Mahata, like, why are you here? And he gave a story to the police, to which, because Kunene, if you did not know, Kunene, he was, at least at the time, he was the NMC transport for the city of Johannesburg and was the acting executive mayor for the city of Johannesburg. So there's a bit of respect going to him from these police. Like, they were not there to arrest him. So it's like, he's the last person they would have found, they expect they would find it, but they found him there. It's like, and then, Italo Sada. And this is the story that he gave. And this is the story that he gave in these news publications. So Kunene says that, look, ever since I've been in politics and doing this transport stuff, I've had a news company called Africa Global, blah, blah, blah. It has not been active because I can't have private interests like that whilst I'm serving. But I thought it would be good if I can hand over this newspaper that specializes in specializing in exclusive stories, hand it over to some young people, some upcoming journalists. And I know this KT Molefe guy through another guy, but me and him are not friends. And therefore, I use that connection to that other guy to secure an exclusive interview, because a lot of things have been said in the media about this KT guy, but he has not shared his side of the story. So I've asked these people that I'm asking to take over my newspaper, these young up-and-coming journalists, giving them the opportunity to do the story. Okay, but Kenny, why are you going there? Why were you found there? Yeah, I was transporting them to this guy's place. Okay, so do you know the guy? No, I don't know him. To me, when I first heard the story, I believed it, because I was like, yeah, I can see that. I can see if I connected a younger person through someone important to do some work for them, even if I don't know that guy, but if I'm the one who did the connection, I can see myself helping these young kids go there, grease the wheels, do the handshakes, all of those other things. I could see myself doing that. I believed it. But I was shocked by how everyone else in the media, the journalists, found it laughable. Like not laughable in a sense that metaphorically it's laughable. Like, they actually laughed. I remember this Sushi, Dalimpo. The guy laughed and his crew laughed when they were reciting the story that Kenny gave. And it seems apparent that journalists actually don't do things like that. Like, a journalist is brave enough to go and interview a person on their own. They don't need someone to hold them by their hand. They don't need this whole thing of, go do the handshake for us, blah, blah, blah. They found the whole thing laughable and like, no, bro, kunene, harbana bahao, wagijuda. And yeah, man, Kenny Kunene, when he was talking, particularly Newsroom Africa, he was doing that Jacob Zuma thing. Listen properly, that in your clear the fruit, Jacob. What's about no to sipel? Like, I'm shabby, like, so now I don't want to be biased. Hey, man, just because the guy is a convict, I don't want to judge him because I know people can change, right? I don't want to preemptively judge him and say, hey, this guy was found in the house of a criminal, therefore he's guilty. I was like, hey, man, man. But, those cues clearing the throat. He was even calling the news guy hot man. Can you call anyone or be hot man? Can I go there, man, again to watch the spins on? One watch like 30,000, the other one is hundreds of thousands. Like, okay, today we'll be about my hot man. So essentially, that's why you're hearing Julius Malema, at least in the beginning phase of this recording. Julius Malema is like, okay, fine. Diman Ubalshan. Why are you Ubalshan? Julius Ore, because he also knows that guy. Julius Ore, no, I don't know him as a friend. Yes, granted, I don't know him that guy as a friend. But he's a well-known businessman. People generally in the political space, in the business space, know this KT guy. So when Kenny Kunene appears on the news, he was there because he was transporting these new up-and-coming journalists to do a handshake and handover to a guy that he doesn't personally know but was introduced to another guy. They are finding it laughable. They're like, okay, Juju is a guy hiding. Hey, bruh. You go on Twitter, black Twitter, man, Adija Kenny Kunene is there. Pictures. The diamond, that KT guy. These are not AI stuff. Like, people are pulling out one of the nepets at the kisting. What's out to the nepet the more kisting? That kist at the cover mount the nepet a hal, but in Sada. But the nepet black Twitter, I saw now when I lay your president, Gaten McKenzie. Is it not you posing with this KT Matala guy? But not one picture, multiple pictures of Kenny Kunene posing with this guy. So can you lie to us, Reshevile so? Like, more TV. I've never understood how can these political types, right? How could they lie on things that can be proved? Like, so, like, this reminds me of Brian. I'm going to Brian Molefe. Brian Molefe is an amazing guy. Very intelligent, yeah? Very intelligent, very educated. The gentleman who paused load shedding for a while. I don't doubt his skills as an executive in parastatals. But Diamond Larteta Reshebile so. Wahopola la moto and that only look section well did a goody good. Diamond Kahana no. There's a Shebin there. There's a Shebin. ENCA at the time Yanka Magenye, the journalist by on the ground of section well. Pabo Zaba to go section well. Barbara, sorry me. Wonka would it lina gara me. Is there Shebin ye? Be food. Pabo Zama timer, but he got in. How long have you been working around it? No, Halek is Spana. What are Shibini? Go section well. Bra, the way Brian and Allah got to go to have so get them on Allah mo TV. It's an inquisition did. Namun an fit a section wealthy. I know they found my location, got the phone, Mari. I was not meeting the group data. No. Nikrushime like you bet say batangi one. The man of well shano should be. Those are these political types better than you. Can you couldn't ubile shanoka? Something that could be proven just like that. Bro, you've taken pictures of this guy. Where's yet? Julius Malema knows this guy. A businessman. You're telling me in where now kunene, who's more of a businessman than Julius Malema. Don't know this guy. And it seems like this guy's involved in the kind of dealings that have to do with tenders and like in the state. Julius Malema knows him. You don't know him. Pictures are coming. Come on, Kenny. Come on, Kenny. And that's the sad reality of some of these politicians lying reshebile. And yeah, that's basically the story behind Kenny Kunene and this KT Molefe guy. But this is a small segment of something much larger that General Mokonanzi had kind of exposed to the nation, that there is a political killings task team that is meant to investigate all the killings that have been happening, particularly in KZN. So that's why it was there. But the more they investigate, and it seems like these police officers are really good at what they are doing, the closer they've come to the truth and unraveling some of these things. That's why we saw the minister trying to basically pull the rug under the feet of these great policemen and shut down that whole task team. And basically the dockets were taken and sent somewhere. I don't know the political language, but the dockets were taken, blah, 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 blah. And that's what kind of pushed Mkonanzi to stand in front of the nation and say, okay, this thing is happening. I don't know, maybe it was he's a moral cop. So he sees that there is a lot of corruption in terms of people being killed that deal with the state, number one. But he had mentioned things that have to do with drug dealers, that some of these people are drug dealers, right? And these drugs are killing, the youth. Maybe he had a difficulty sleeping, knowing that the work of the task team is being circumvented by politics. Maybe he was going to be arrested himself, because I remember there was an attempt to have, I think it was him, there was an attempt to arrest him or something like that. I saw that it got carte blanche, but just like last year, I forgot the full story on that. However, we don't actually know the real reason why he went to the media, but that whole thing of going to the media helped expose the rot that has been happening in South Africa. In fact, it has kind of revealed things that we have known. So we've kind of known that the police are useless at this point, right? It's saying useless. Okay, let me be fair. Let me not use rhetoric here. We thank them that they are there, but we always feel like they are failing us. The only thing you can depend on regarding a cop is them stamping your ID copy there. That's my personal experience of the police. You can't depend on them for anything except matric certificate saka copy atinke kopo temped ID. That's generally how I see them. And I suspect a lot of South Africans have interacted with these people. At least that's the perception. Clearly, when you look at the stats, you can see the police are doing their job. So you can see that they are able to account for the murder rate in South Africa. They can say, okay, so many people have been killed, blah, 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 blah. There's people in prison, so definitely the police are doing their job. However, I think publicly how their PR is currently in the country, there's a feeling that they are not doing anything. In fact, it feels like they're complicit in the crime. Why? Most probably because we have seen politicians get away with murder. That used to be figuratively, but it seems like it's about to be literal with all of these things that Mkonanzi has exposed. That's why we don't take courage in our police. It's the things that we know, how we interact with them and how other people interact with them. Kitty jaw, kitty cool drink, all of these things. It includes the traffic cops. They don't stand in the road with a camera to discourage us from speeding, but they hide so that they can catch us speeding. Yeah. I don't know what kind of lawmen are those. So instead of using the law to protect us, to discourage us from hurting ourselves, you actually want to catch us out doing crime, so that for whatever reason, that's how you make money as the traffic department. So already we have that relationship with them. It's people who hide in the bushes to catch you out. There was this one guy who had recorded himself catching people speeding, and then he would celebrate. So that's a ticket for me. I hate that I have a ticket. Someone could say, but why are you breaking the law? It's like, yeah, I'm human. I break the law, bruh. If someone is not there, yeah, maybe I'll break the law. We're not angels here. But we had have hoped that law enforcement is there to curtail those behaviors in us and to discourage that. So if a traffic cop is on the end and one of their blue lights on, we are considerate and we are aware that we are passing the speed limit and we can reduce our speed limit. Now, based on their own theories that high speeds actually kill people, I don't believe it, but I don't want to go into that arena now. But if you want to discourage people from driving fast, it doesn't help you taking a picture of their car speeding and these people are unaware of it and they continue speeding. You could just put your blue lights there and discourage them. We see you, oh, there's cops, Lord, let me slow down. Oh, there's a stretch of cops here, this whole road. Let me calm down in my driving. I would have thought that's the point. But yeah, that's how our relationship with the cops here in this country. It's that. It's tempa pampiri, ketsamaye. It's capture an affidavit, but you write your own words. It's politicians do bad things. They never get justice. And granted, someone can become technical. Yeah, but the police are not the prosecutors and the prosecutors are not the judges that sentence. All of those other things, fine. But what we see and what we interact with regularly is the men and women in blue. It's not much Dagens and Purapere and those. Do they wear white wigs here in South Africa? I hope they don't. But yeah, we don't see those judges and lawyers and all those other things. We see these men and women in blue. And on a ground level, how we interact with them, it's normally some sort of petty light corruption, and it's unfortunate. So our view and perception of the police is not really that high. But we are grateful now with the work that the general, Lieutenant General Konanzi and his folks, and the exposure they have done to this country to expose the evils of organized crime in our country. I think it will bring back hope in our policing system and just generally our justice system. I'm hoping that's where it's going. Now, what's the unfortunate thing about this Kenny Kunene stuff, to go back to him? Kenny Kunene was doing a lot of work, yeah? I think simply because their party is small, the PA, it's a small party, they're out to impress and they were able to find themselves in government because, yes, they grew. The work that Gayton McKenzie did in the Central Karoo helped bring light to the party and people started having faith in them. But also their message, the message that South Africans secretively have but can't publicly talk about, which is the issue of foreigners. And I think that, to say it's illegal foreigners, I think that's just nice rhetoric. I think where we are now in South Africa, we could care less if they are legal or illegal. But there's a growing feeling that in this country, we have seen foreigners doing better than local people. And this is on the backdrop that unlike America, so America has this, I forgot what H1B1, whatever that visa of theirs is. But it's a special visa that only the best of the best in those foreign countries can apply to go to America. So much of America's scientists, much of the people who built Silicon Valley and a lot of the inventions coming out of America, the contributions were coming from these people coming from foreign countries like India and China. Some of them even Germany and Russia. So those people got visa to go work in America, but they were already like a very exceptional people at the global stage, not just in their own countries, but at the global stage. And that's why America invited them. And that's why if you to see someone like that succeeding, you'd be like, bruh, you are succeeding. I don't have the kind of brain power and contribution that you're making for this country. So we don't have that in South Africa. In South Africa, we have people working in restaurants, car guards, salons, technicians, managers, and all those other things. We have those jobs that are not even in demand that much. Wait, let me say, they are in demand. South Africans are demanding those jobs, but there's few of them. And we sometimes find ourselves that in those very same jobs, we find them being occupied by foreigners. That has been something that South Africans have not appreciated for a long time. And there's been a growing anger underneath. And we can't talk about it freely, because if you talk about it freely, you're called xenophobic, blah, 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 blah. If you say, yeah, how can I be xenophobic? But I have Zimbabwean friends, I have Kenyan friends. Yeah, but you're the same as a white person when they say I have black friends. Like, okay, shall go to hell here? Because we can't have a conversation, right? If you want to have a conversation about it, yeah, but these borders, white people put these borders here, as if like black people did not have territories. Territories are a new thing by white people. You know what? Before the 1600s and Jan van Riebeeck, he came before they came here in this country. We know nothing about borders. We know nothing about territories. Black people were just running around. They were the people of the earth. Some lie. There was no disputes amongst the Sothos and the Zulus. It's one big party. There's no tribal differences. There was no clan differences. There was no wars over land. It no monate fail. That's what they want us to believe. So the idea of a border and statehood is like, it's a white person thing. Like, really? Can dispute all you want and say those borders were put there by white people. Yeah, so they are there now. It's my country, Didi. It's my country. Is this country that put my parents through apartheid? This one. It's not some artificial border somewhere. It's not some philosophy about it was put by where my parents were born and raised. They're in the confines of this country, in the government that was ruling here. My parents suffered under the apartheid government, which was ruling what we call South Africa today. I was born in that. We are born of disadvantages because of that government. Our grandparents, our uncles died. They were beaten kadipafa in that thing that we call South Africa with its so-called border stamaho. It was put there by colonialism. But I don't care. It's the country that we have today. It's the country we have today. You want me to talk about Lesotho and the land claims up until here, go Johannesburg South? That's ridiculous. We'll never get that land back. Where I was born, where my parents were born and my grandparents were born, were in this land called South Africa. And it's my country, and I'll fight for it to the very end. And it must benefit myself and my parents and my kids and my friends. We must enjoy the wealth of this country. And it must be safe for all of us. And yes, I do get angry when we say, okay, there's drugs in South Africa. It's like, okay, yeah, but South Africans participate in drugs and they make drugs. Fair and fine. South Africans are criminals. They have criminals, right? Like every other country that has sinners, they have criminals. We also have criminals. But it's unfortunate. What is not nice, it's when they say every single time it's a drug bust, or every single time that you are out at night and some person in the dark talks to you, it's a Nigerian. Kidding. Are South Africans complicit in this drug syndicate? Yes. That's why we say to them, jail them and throw away the key. But if it's a foreign person, I can't say that they are foreign. I can't say that there is a pattern that these kinds of crimes, as much as South Africans are part of them, but we see this particular nationality that is foreign participating in this crime. It's wrong for us to say that and say, because of that, we do not have an affinity for people coming from this country, because in most instances that we have interacted with them, put away the positive things that they might be doing. we only remember the bad. But every time we hear about them, it's them hijacking your city, it's them selling drugs, it's them hijacking your kids, it's them selling your daughter, and all those other things. And we're not allowed to talk about those things. No, you're being xenophobic. Yeah, you don't like yourself. You hate being black. Those stupid things. I have a grudge against them. Bruh, some of my good friends are Kenyans. For whatever reason, I have a very big affinity for Kenyans. I love them. Those are my folks. But I'm telling you now, had they were known for crime in this country, a specific crime, every time that crime appears, these people would be involved. I am telling you, I'd hate them. I'd hate what they are doing because this is my country. I don't have anywhere else to go. This is where I was born. And those people, I know, they defend their countries too. Like it's a natural thing. You have to defend where you're coming from. It's your home. Why is that even controversial though? I don't know. Hey, xenophobia. You aluta continue. What? Yo, Pan-Africanism. You hate your skin. Totally irrelevant. Yo. Bafan. Like, I'll tell you this, in my industry, in the industry that I work in, I'm telling you now, a lot of my peers, right, do not necessarily like what our country did when they imported the Indians and Pakistanis in this country and said that South Africans don't have the skills in my industry. Maybe that was true 20 years ago. It has not been true since 10 years ago. We were blocked out of opportunities. We were not treated fairly. We even lost jobs. As South African, we lost jobs. We got retrenched, right? And people who are foreign to this country, people who are not planning on staying here and building homes and growing this country, people who take money and take it back home and build mansions and contribute to that economy. We had companies choose those people over us. Why? Because we come with rights. We're not contractors. So your work is projectized by nature. When you come with problems, you come with HR problems. We can't fire you at will, blah, 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 blah. It's fine. Like, okay, that's the risk that these people take. It's like, yeah, how can someone be a contractor for 15 to 20 years and you say their skills are scarce? It's not scarce. These people are not working in university. They are not contributing to some major findings, doing some new transplant, pelu that has eyes or something. They're here. The work I'm doing here on a day-to-day. Our own companies chose these people over us. You think that we won't have any negative feelings towards them? Even if you don't have natural hate to these people, right? And I'll say this, they are not even responsible for this. They're not the one who caused this whole conundrum. It's the hiring managers, it's these companies, right, that chose them over us. But it broods contempt here for us on the ground. I know all of us walk on water, some virtue signaling. We are even greater than Jesus. You must let it slide. It's irrational that people would feel like this when they lack jobs, but other people who are not from this country, who know nothing about the pain of having lost your ancestors here to brutal regimes, to land these positions. Get some other person who has no qualms in here to give them those jobs. And they're not even planning on staying. The sad thing about it. They're not settling down, most of them. They're not getting married to locals. They're not building homes. No, they still have they have one foot here and another foot in their country. The day things get back for us here, the day this country gets bankrupt, you'll see people will be taking flights back. And we're supposed to be okay about those things. So kunene and the likes, we're kind of tackling that issue that South Africans are not allowed to talk about. Because if you talk about it, you're this satanic person. You know, people even quote you scriptures about not harming the foreign. It's like, of course, take care of your guests, bro. Take care of the people who are here. They're your guests. They are guests. Operative word, guest. That's the noun there. Guest. And they ought to behave like guests. We do it when we go to their countries. Now, brackets, I go to Dubai. I was in Dubai for weeks. You don't know the kind of eggshells I was working on there. And I did not say, when I'm feeling oppressed, I'm working on eggshells. Like, I studied some of their taboos and some of the things that I know that would be taboo if I were to do them. So, but you don't want to get into trouble. I remember it was like, hey, man, those people, they find you kissing in the public, we are jail. Okay. Public affection. So I was going there with a female colleague. We had nothing happening between us. Please, don't even attempt to walk very close to me. Don't, like we just have to be careful. We must act very professional in the streets. And I'm a guest in that country. I need to observe and respect them. And hopefully leave without destroying anything. So it's fine. People must come here, parasol, and all those other things. And if you talk about it, oh, you are wrong. It is, I still believe it's wrong to deny people healthcare, all of those other things. It's too late. You can't deny helping someone if they are ill. They are already here. Help them. That's like kicking the can down the road. It's the issue starts there by the border there. And of the patrolling and everything else, and incentives to be here, and the companies that hire some of these illegal people and all these other things. That's where it starts. But once someone is sick, you're gonna deny someone healthcare because they are foreign. Hey, that one, man, they remain human. We have to treat them well. You can't turn away someone who's sick. But if you then raise the point and say, yeah, but image our healthcare system, like, you're not supposed to say that thing. This guy, man, what a left hand. Like, oh, guys, how are we gonna solve anything if you can't be honest about it? But anyway, that's what KT Molefe do, helping us. KT Molefe, that's the first video I played. Ansari, how about Holagos na Pampiri van? It was good work. It was good work. I'm documented in this country. Mutono tsena fela iriskatse ba rona ke mang wa hlanya. You seek refugee status, go to these things, immigration offices, all those other things. Seek proper refugee status. This helps us manage whatever crisis that you guys are coming from. It helps manage our own population, see what's happening. But for you not to know what's happening in your country. The country did a census of its own people. Because from census, then you are able to do some predictions about the economy. No, there's this class of people in the amount of 5 million we don't know, that are unaccounted for. Yet we're supposed to do planning for a state. Like, come on, guys. Oh, man. So KT Molefe was dealing with those things. We were happy. He was dealing with hijacked buildings. These buildings that are hijacked by foreigners. The thing that we had there, so KT Molefe was doing all of those things. I was happy. The criminal is doing his work now. Okay, let me not say the criminal. The ex-con is doing his work. We are proud of what he's doing. He's redeeming himself. And because he comes from that perspective of being called a criminal and misaligned and whatever, having to redeem himself, he's less susceptible to rhetoric like being called xenophobic, blah, 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 blah. He could actually serve some of us who were like, yeah, bro, we don't appreciate Johannesburg South being rotten. We would like those buildings to be reclaimed, to be clean. Some of us are not prepared to live in squalor because it's our country. We want to build families here. I did not embark on a 10,000 kilometer journey to go survive in a foreign country. I am here. And therefore, if it's my country, I require it to be clean because I'm going to raise kids here. And this country has to survive until I die and take over my kids too. We care about those cleanliness. We care about those buildings and their conditions. No, but waspina di flete ba mi kukuda. Hakata ha mi kukara flete mutu spina mtagas. How much does this building own in Mtlagas? It owns 2 billion. 2 billion. Mtlagas, 2 billion. Oh, who's running this syndicate? No, it's not this guy from Nigeria. No, I don't see nationality whatsoever. It just so happens. It happens 3, 4, 5 buildings. The same kind of thing happens. We must act as if like we can't see the problem is coming from a certain country. Bruh, there's a lot of foreign people in this country. I come from a church that has a lot of foreign nationals in it, in Cape Town at least. We have Zimbabweans, we have Kenyans, people from Burundi, people from Rwanda, Uganda, we have them. We had one lady from the Philippines. Let's see. I had a friend from Madagascar, bruh. Lee. I had a guy from Madagascar. Let's see. I have a friend, he's a counterpart at work. Osaje Foy is from Ghana. Like him to bits. You know, we have foreigners and we are friends of foreigners. The issue is when a particular nationality that is foreign is known for certain crimes and we are not allowed to say anything. When you talk about them, they think you are taking every other nationality. As if all other nationalities share the same values and culture. These people are not different to Nigerians. Much like Nigerians are not the same as Kenyans, and much like Kenyans are not the same as Ethiopians, and Ethiopians are not the same as South Africans. We're different. We're different countries. We espouse different values and we're motivated by different things. So if you say I have an issue with how Nigerians are portrayed and what they are doing in this country, I'm dealing with Nigerians. I'm not dealing with their neighbor Ghana. I'm not dealing with people from Sierra Leone, Togo. I'm not dealing with those ones. I'm talking about this particular one is always found wanting in this country. We can't talk about it freely. It's unfortunate we can't do that. And it's also unfortunate that now Kenny Kunene had to step down because of this shenanigans states our denier that he was at the house of someone he knows. He could have just admitted and said, yeah, I know that guy, you know, just because the guy committed crimes, what does it have to do with me? Which is a fair thing to say. I had some women saying that if a friend, one who is a friend of criminals is a criminal themselves, like, nah, not really. That's not true. I'm friends with all sorts of people. They don't share the same values as me. They're definitely not the same as me. So I don't know why you're saying if someone is a criminal and you're friends with them, you're also a criminal. It's like, nah, stop that thing, man. Oh, what? So Kenny could have just said, yeah, I know this guy now. He's my friend. I have a friend, but he's known. Your friend is known, or he's attending trial for a murder. It's like, yes, that has to do with him. What does it have to do with me? Like, technically can be argued. Yeah, I know optically one could say about Kenuma, man, in Zambra, particularly you being a former criminal. You delay if you win Tanda. You know, that can be argued. But I don't think that he had to go to the route of lying. And so in him lying, he made his story wishy-washy. And then ultimately, because it's wishy-washy, and the media is like it's saying it's wishy-washy, you are lying, he had to step down from political life. Now we don't know who's going to take over that thing of dealing with illegal buildings, illegal foreigners, illegal connections, and all those other things that the city of Johannesburg desperately needs, because they had a mayor there that I don't know any. Again, Dhaka, what? Ramano, useless. That they wanted to prove something. Everywhere and don't forget the camera. We wanted that thing. Yeah, it's selfish, but it's helping us there in Johannesburg. Now that thing is gone, unfortunately. It's unfortunate. Eish. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. But yeah, anyway, that's the podcast. Disclaimer, I am just a madman speaking to a mic. I'm in no way, shape, or form a politician or an advisor to politicians. I'm just a dude with weird opinions. And we speak without the face because we partly believe that in South Africa, we do not have freedom of speech. The government offers it to us, but private companies come for you. So I don't know what's the freedom in that. Anyway, cheers, magenye. See you next time.